G'day people, I'm Monster. Welcome back to episode 2 of season 2 of our Space Engineers single player survival. So today what I wanted to do was test my theory that we can do some modular building with the shipyard. So to that end I did do a little experimenting off camera just to make sure that I didn't spend 30 minutes on camera getting things wrong. So I think it's going to work. So what I've got here, one of the issues in my understanding of projectors is that when you project something, the projection needs to be attached to the same grid as the projector for it to be built, and it needs to be touching a solid block to start the building process. So what I've done is I've put this temporary arm out here. Now this is going to serve as two purposes long term when we're building the battleship, because as I mentioned, the battleship will be quite long and stretch quite a way. So what I need to be able to do is build it straight. What I don't want to do is start building something and then it'll start veering off gradually that way or that way, and I end up, you know, banging into the side of the shipyard. So I need to build it parallel to the shipyard body itself. And a certain way to do that is to actually start the build attached to the shipyard, and then eventually when we finish this thing we can just cut off the blocks, turn it in, convert it to a ship and then fly it around. But what this also means, if we have this arm here that we can maneuver a projection to touch, it means that the projector that is situated on our main grid, our base, we know that the projection will line up properly with this block here, and I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. For those of you who use projectors a lot, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't, I'd recommend you experiment with projectors because they're good fun and quite, I think, quite a powerful little tool. So here's one I prepared earlier, as they say. First things first, I make sure the bobs are off. Whenever I start playing around with projector, if you're using something like the nanobot build and repair, make sure they're off, because as soon as your projection touches a solid block of any kind, they will start building it, and that could mean they start building it inside something where you don't want it being built. So switch off the bobs first and foremost. Do you know what? I should put a little LCD in front of me there, right there, saying switch off the bobs. That way I won't forget, because I have forgotten a couple of times. Anyway, let's switch on the projector. Excuse me. I couldn't mount the projector on our little construction bot here because it's a separate grid, and the projections wouldn't line up if I did that. Let me just jump out for a moment. So here's our projection. What I've done is done a little mock-up of a section of a battleship. Very simple. It's just some steel plating and a weapon from the, I think it's the CMD Bob's weapons, is it? It is the Mexpex weapons pack. It's that one there, the battleship cannon. Fairly cheap to make, but the ammunition's quite expensive. But these are the sort of things I'm going to be putting along the body of the battleship for the broadsides and various other weapons as well. So yeah, so what I've done is built this just to test it. So what I'm going to do is move this projection along so that it's touching this, one of these blocks here, and then I'll switch on the bobs and get this built. And then what I'm going to do is put the projector on again and try and build another section of this attached to the first section. And if that works, that means we've proven the concept of this modular section building technique, which means we can go ahead and start designing a section of the broadside of the battleship, or a complete cross section of the battleship. Once we've got that, we can project that, build it, and then project it again, and then just let the bobs build it and keep building it as long as we want it, and just keep repeating that over and over. So yeah, so let's jump back in here and maneuver this blueprint into position Now I did save a bit of time, manoeuvred it a little way to get to where it is at the moment, because they can be a bit tricky. These don't always represent horizontal, vertical, forward. It depends on how you built something in the first place with a projector. And if you want to have see a good video of how projectors work and how to set them up, watch Splitsy's tutorial on projectors. Brilliant tutorial, really useful. Really recommend it. So it's the vertical offset that I know is going to move this along, which should be the horizontal, but in this case it's vertical because of the way it was built. So if I'm going to shift this along, and I can just about make it out. I think that is it intersecting there. Let's just go and check. Yeah, I can see one of the blocks have highlighted now. So when I put the bobs on now, that should start. Lag again. What the lag? So let's pop those bobs on. The other thing I've done with this projector, and I'll just go into this little temporary terminal to show you. What I also discovered is to do this modular building, what you need to do is keep projection. So once the projection has been built, normally projection would just disappear. In this instance, it keeps the projection in the background, so you've got your fully built thing overlaying the projection. And we need that so that we can then move the projection forward so that we can build it again. Bearing in mind, as soon as it's finished building this section, you need to switch off the bobs before you then move the projection. That's very important. So keep projection needs to be on for this. Whilst that's building, I'll just talk about a couple of other things. I deconstructed our mobile constructor. There was a lot of parts there sitting there really doing nothing. We don't really need it anymore now the base has been built. With our shipyard down here and our little constructor bot, I can get it this close to the base. So from here I should be able to do any building I want to do around the base, any improvements that I need to do. For instance, you know, tidying off, smoothing off all these corners like that. So I can use this bot. What I also want to do is I want to mirror these ribs on the top, because I also want a breaker's yard as well as a shipbuilding yard. And the reason I want that separate, so basically the way these ribs go down like this is going to be mirrored on the top, and there'll be another section of the shipyard going up as well. And the reason I want two separate is because once we start building this battleship, it's going to be much bigger than this, and it's going to take up a huge portion of this shipyard. And we're not really going to be able to do much else with this shipyard once we start building that battleship. And I do intend to get salvage from various places, like for instance pirates and other things. And then when we bring the salvage back, we need a kind of breaker's yard to deconstruct that and grab all the stuff from it. So that's something I'll do off camera. You don't really need to see me building, repeating this build, but it's basically just going to mirror this bit. And like I said, this is extendable indefinitely because these conveyors are all connected to our main cargo storage, which is in there. I did do some mining as well. I went around, I visited a few of the other asteroids with the lobster that we'd built. That's now parked in a hangar. I put a landing leg on it and a little parking area. The lighting's terrible in here, isn't it? And a little parking area here for it. It doesn't go down all the way. It's a bit of a glitchy, that. So I just want to park it in the hangar when we're not using it. So I've identified some resources around some of the nearby asteroids. Did a little bit of mining. Yeah, so just to get us going. Found some gold, platinum, silver. We've got silver here actually on this asteroid. Uranium. And the reason I want uranium is that I know we're using liquid hydrogen to power our base and our ships with these liquid hydrogen reactors, but I do need uranium ingots for a lot of the ammunition for some of these weapons that we'll be using. So definitely need a good supply of that anyway. So I've found a few of those things around the asteroids in the immediate vicinity. Yeah. So just a bit of resource gathering really. and broke up the constructor, the mobile constructor. So okay, so that section is finished, and because it is attached to the same grid as the projector, we should be able to slide the projection along so that it is that sort of portion of the projection is touching this portion of the built side, and then we'll be able to put the bulbs back on, and it should build another section, and it should be perfectly joined. And with that, we should be able to build these sections of the battleship all the way along in a modular type of build. Okay, so the first things first, let's get in here, let's make sure the bulbs are off. I do need to put an LCD display there. Bulbs off. So what we can do then is go back into our projector, and because we put keep projection on, we should just be able to slide this along. Now it was this one we used to slide along. Now that build is 5 blocks wide, so if we push this along to number 16, that way, that should be perfectly aligned for us to build the next section. So let's just make sure if we can fly through this bit. Yeah, we can. So that looks right. So let's go switch Bob on, and let's make sure that these join up perfectly. Okay. And we should see a seamless weld across here, well, across here, which there is. Perfect. So this works, and this is going to be a much easier way to do a big build. Cool beans. I'm so pleased about that. I'm so pleased. Yeah. The only downside with this one, I guess it's a fairly small downside, is because we're going to do a long build. I don't know, we could perhaps we may have to keep moving the projector further along the shipyard every now and then, and just realigning the projection each time. Well, not each time, but every few sections. But I don't think that's not a big problem. I don't think that's not a big price to pay for the ease of building something like this. Definitely not. Yeah. Alright, that doesn't really need to finish. But yeah, there you go. So we've got two battleship broadside cannons there, ready to go. I'm going to set up a weapons test platform as well, because I do want to test a load of the weapons out. Not necessarily on live targets, but we'll set up some dummy targets and do a weapons testing platform, maybe out the front end somewhere, or maybe down from under here. And we'll do a weapons testing platform under here. Set up some dummy targets across there, and we can test all the different weapons. Because the two mods I have on are CMD Bob's weapons. We've got some pretty cool weapons on that one. Decoy flares. Oh, I don't know what most of them do as well. Anaconda heavy rocket. Torpedo launchers. Yeah. Oh, cool. And then you got some heavy cannons as well. Auto cannon. Yeah, I've got some really good stuff. And I've also got the, as I said earlier, the Mexpex weapons, which are they're like the real true battleship cannon type things. Magnetic core cannon. Yeah, and I want to build every one of these weapons in both weapons mods and test them. It's going to be such fun. You can't see me, but I've got a smile on my face thinking about it. Yeah. It's these little things, blowing things up, you know, it's fun, shooting things. But anyway, yeah, and then once we've decided on the weapon loadout for the broadsides, and the broadside will be a mix of heavy battleship cannons, Gatling type guns for the mid-range and the small targets, some anti-fighter turrets, anti-rocket turrets, and that will be the mix of the broadside section, and then we'll just repeat that over and over again. So we'll have a huge array of weapons, which is going to mean a huge supply of ordnance for them, and that's why we need a pretty decent shipyard, and I'm probably going to need a dedicated ammunition manufacturing centre as well at some point for us to come back and resupply, because we will go through a ton of ammunition, I'm sure. Okay, so I've turned the bobs off now. Let's turn off the projector. We don't really need it now. We've proven that the thing works. And then once we finish and we're happy we've built everything, we just detach the battleship from the main grid and then go into the menu and convert it to ship, and then we can fly it away. Yeah, and that's how it's done. So in the meantime, I might as well just get this deconstructed again because we don't really need it. I'll need to turn the bobs back on again, won't I? I'll leave that arm there. Yeah, so that will keep the ship aligned while we build it. Make sure that we can project everything perfectly fine onto it and everything joins up nicely. Yeah, it's going to work. It's going to work. Cool. I'm really looking forward to getting that started. In the meantime, there's a couple other things I need to build as well. A couple of smaller ships. Ships with specific purposes. One of them I want to build is a small but powerful, and I guess we could get that started. I guess the only way I could describe it is a forklift, because like I said, I want a breaker's yard up here. What happens usually if you bring in a big ship and start dismantling it with these bobs, sections of it will start floating away, and what I need is a small powerful ship that's got a lot of gyro on it as well, that can latch on to big sections of salvage and move them around safely. So I want to build that, and I think that will be pretty cool. I guess we could just build it here. It's just a small ship, so it shouldn't be none of that should get in the way. I guess I'm trying to say, what sort of cockpit do I want on it? I guess you want a covered cockpit on this one, and I think we'll go with the same power system, the medium hydrogen reactor for the small ship. Like I said, this one will need a lot of gyro and decent thrust, so what I might do is go... Do you want the tier 3 thrust? I think I will. I think I'm going to go for the tier 3 ion thrust. Yeah. So it doesn't need cargo space or anything like that. It is purely, like I said, pretty much just a forklift. Okay, Bob will build that when he's ready. Do you know what? I guess we should probably do with it being oxygenated as well. Yeah, I will. Oh, do we oxygenate it? It means it's going to be a little bit bigger. Do you know, we can always add oxygen to it at some point if we feel we need to. Why is that so big? Have I picked the wrong one? Oh, there it is. Let's... Why is that coming out as the large size? That's the size it should be. Small ship. I built that wrong. I know. What is going on? Am I going mad? Why is that cockpit different? That's a large ship cockpit. That's why. That's a small ship cockpit. Do you know what? I didn't know there were large ship cockpits. I honestly did not know that. Well, we learn something new every time we play, don't we? Okay. Let's plug that straight into the cockpit. Like so. So we don't need a lot of stuff on this. We don't really need any conveying systems. It purely is just a forklift. Well, I say a forklift. A latch lift. What should I call it? I don't know what to call it. A latch lift? It's kind of suits what it is, doesn't it? Okay, so what I'll do, I think I'll pop a couple of blocks out first and then stick a couple of landing gear on there. Like so. And that's how it will latch on to stuff. So let's get rid of that, get rid of that, and get rid of that. So really it's just the gyros. And the way I'll configure the gyros is I'll have most of the gyros switched off for the majority of the time, just for normal flight. And then when... where are the gyros? And then when I need to move something large, I can then switch gyros on as and when they're needed. So it's just a case of putting engines on it now, I guess. Where are we going to put those? See, I'm not going to bother... I don't think I'll even bother with a cargo container. Just don't think it's necessary. It's not a cargo ship, it's purely for moving stuff around. Okay, so... we put a line of blocks out this way. How big are these tier 3 thrusters? They're the same size. Just got to be careful with the forward thrust that we don't, it's not too close to anything to damage anything, and we're not going to kill ourselves when we get out. You know what? Not sure how much thrust I need on it. I think I'm going to put four. Oh, they're tier 3, aren't they? Let's start with 2, and I'll leave space for another 2 in each direction. Let me turn my light on so you can see better. Apologies for that. Because if we're shifting really large pieces of salvage, then it's going to need quite a bit of stopping power and a lot of thrust. So I guess we could repeat that at the end here, couldn't we, for the rear thrust. Oops. Get rid of that bit. And that gives us plenty of space then to, I need large tubes, to actually put extra thrust on if we feel like we need it. Storage. Get rid of some of the stuff I don't need. That should do us. That should do us. Now where do we leave that ship? Go on, you can do it. Then we need up and down, side to side. Do, 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 do. Two up, two down, and then I guess we could tuck side to side in there for now. If we need to have more side to side, we'll have to reconfigure that little bit. And that gives us a ton of space for gyros. This is as good a place as any for the antenna, isn't it? Okay, I'll pop 7 gyros on there at the moment. What I'll probably do is just have 1 gyro, maybe 2 at the most, operating at most times, and I'll just set up a group in the hotbar to activate the other gyros that I need as and when we need them. Why is it taking forever to do? Oh, it's still doing them. Okay. So we just need power. Oh, I'm going to have to pop a battery on this to get the power in there. I suppose better go and get some fuel. Oh. Duck! In fact, let's get some stuff out of the inventory first. Okay, we can keep some spare liquid hydrogen in the cockpit as well, I guess. It's got no other storage on there. Can we get that into the reactor via the cockpit? Via the cockpit? I don't think we can without any power at all. No, we can't. Okay, I'm going to have to put a little jump start battery on this so we can fuel it. Where should we put you? Are we going to leave you on there or not? There you go. This looks a perfect spot for it there, doesn't it? I'll leave it on there for now. Right, I think that's everything needed on that. Again, it needs to be tidied up a bit, but I'm going to burn myself on those thrusters, aren't I? Without a doubt. Okay, so let's get some fuel into there, leave the rest of the fuel in the cockpit, and take it for a test run. Oh, yeah, gyros are horrendous. So we'll leave 1 gyro on. Gyro extra. Is that how you spell gyro? Yeah, I'll be alright. So we'll turn those off. That acceleration isn't as fast as I expected it to be. Probably turn all but one of those gyros off, couldn't we? Yeah, I think we're definitely going to need more thrust. So yeah, basically the idea with this one is just latch onto something and you can move it around. Latched on with one of them anyway. Yeah, so what I'll do, I think I'll power this down for a start. I'll play around with that, I think, off camera. I'm probably going to add at least one more thruster in each direction. I'll probably turn one of the other gyros off as well. Yeah, and that should pretty much do it. Yeah, so a nifty little bit of kit, really useful if you're doing lots of salvage. Easy to park. There we go, there we have it. Alright, well I'm going to probably call it an episode there. One of the other vehicles I want to build will be a, for want of a better word, it's a pirating ship. I know it shouldn't be a pirate. I guess you could look, if you ever play role play games like D&D games, things like that, you'll probably know the character trait system. So our Captain Dad here, when we started season 1, would have been like a lawful good character. He was a good person, always did right, knew right from wrong, always did the right thing, and he abided by the law. Obviously pirates attacked, killed all his crew, all his passengers, destroyed his ship, tried to kill him, his livelihood's gone. He's pretty niffed and irked by the whole thing. So I guess you could say he's moved on from lawful good now. He's more like a true neutral. And a true neutral, they don't necessarily do bad things, they still know right from wrong, but as long as it aligns with their goals. So, you know, he wouldn't go out and just cold-blooded murder of somebody, but if a salvage opportunity crops up where there's going to be no loss of life and it suits his guts, so for instance this civilian ship up here, we know it's AI controlled, so if he needs lots of components and parts to further his own personal goal, then he would see nothing wrong now about capturing that ship, bringing it down and breaking it apart and getting all the gear from it. So that I want to do that as well. So, and to do that, and I've done that in the past, the exploration mod is a little bit more tricky to do it with now, because if you do something to one of these ships now, anything at all, they'll turn red and you'll be at war with them for about, I think it's about a 15-minute penalty or something like that. So to do that, we're definitely going to end up going to war every now and then with these people, which you've got to be careful of, because if you're within sight of one of its turrets when you get there and it turns red, they'll shoot you automatically. So that I think I've thought of a way around that and a way to do it. But what I need is some kind of, I guess it's a ship that will latch on to another ship. You can use its engines to slow that ship down, because these are always moving at a certain speed. Ideally what you want to do is stop them so they're not moving any further away from your base. So latch on with a small powerful ship and bring its speed down to 0. Once you've got that, it's a case of trying to find a safe spot to pop on a hacking computer or two, and then you have to change or do something to change them to an enemy, and then the hacking computers will do their work. But you've got to make sure that your ship is parked in a position that can't be shot by its turrets, and you are in a position you can't be shot by the turrets. Or the first act that you do against it after putting the hacking computer on is to grind down the turret that's facing you and your ship. That way that can't shoot at you. So that's the plan, and so I need to design a ship that's going to do this. And I guess it'll be sort of similar to this, but it'll have some cargo space, probably a lot more powerful. It needs a very low profile to be able to do what we want to do with it, to keep out the sight of guns. And if we need to get away fast, it needs to have very fast acceleration. Yeah, so I need to design that one, and I think that'll be a job for next episode. And then we can start making use of this for some salvage opportunities. Oh yes, indeed. So yeah, so things should get nice and exciting, and then once we get all those components, we can start designing the first section of this battleship and get that build going. But yeah, okay, well, I'm going to call it a day there. I hope you enjoyed that episode, found it useful. I'm really pleased that the modular building section or building system works. Looking forward to testing it out for real and putting something together. In the meantime, if you enjoyed the episode, please press that like button. It helps the channel grow. If you've subscribed, thank you very much. If you haven't, please consider doing so for more episodes. I'm Monster Dad, and I'll see you later. Bye.